Welcome to the Halftime Show, your world of sports in half the time. I'm Megan Massiesi.
And I'm Aaron Becker. Tonight we're going to discuss the start to the NHL season and break down the Ryder Cup. But first, we'll recap the MLB playoff picture.
Here to discuss the MLB playoffs with us is Sarah Maculin. Sarah, let's go and get right into it, starting with the Dodgers beating the Braves last night. How big of a disappointment was that for them?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was crushing for the Braves. To be honest, it wasn't anything that I didn't expect. I mean, I think the Dodgers are just at a different level than the Braves are, and it was the same thing with Colorado. The fact that the Brewers and Dodgers swept didn't necessarily shock me because I think, like I said, they were just at a different tier than the other two teams. So that wasn't, like I said, shocking, but it was a disappointment. I mean, the Braves, they had a lot of rookie breakouts that it was exciting for everyone. Everyone wanted to pay attention to them. And it was nice to see a team like that doesn't really have that much money to spend do well because of their rookies and because of their players. So I just think it wasn't their year. Same thing kind of with the Athletics. We talked about a low market team. It's not their year yet. They're good. They shock people. They're exciting to watch. But give it a year or two and they could be the ones that are fighting for a World Series victory.
Now the Astros are moving on to the third round, Sarah, and they have a pretty good pitching staff. How are they going to help moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, you can't compete with the Astros pitching staff. I mean, it is unbelievable. I mean, it was great even entering before they get in this season. I mean, they won the World Series because of it. I mean, you have Justin Verlander, you have Charlie Morton, Dallas Keuchel. I mean, those names alone, and then in the offseason they go out and get former Pirates pitcher Garrett Cole. So they just added to what was already one of the best pitching staffs in all of baseball. So it's going to be very hard for me to see someone come in and beat them. I mean, not only do they have the great pitching staff, but they have the offense behind it. I mean, they put up 11 runs the other night. It's just insane. If there is a team to take them down, I like the Red Sox we'll jump a little bit. I like the Red Sox in the Red Sox-Yankees series. They have the possibility to beat them because we saw them put out the number of runs they did against the Yankees the other night. So they can compete with them offensively, but it's really hard to see anyone taking down the Astros with the pitching staff they have. We've seen good pitchers have a rough game, so that's a possible chance of happening, but we'll see.
Definitely, but I want to stick with the Astros right now just because they are the defending World Series champions. It is really hard to go back-to-back, but they're making it look pretty easily by winning their division, having the #1 overall seed. They've been killing it, and I think personally it has to do with their infielders, particularly Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman, and then their outfielder, George Springer. Can you just give us a little bit of what the offensive power is doing to help out the pitching staff?
I mean, yeah, like I said, they scored 11 runs last game. They have the great pitching staff and the great defense behind them. I mean, Jose Altuve arguably could be the AL MVP. I mean, it's just back-to-back consistent seasons out of him. And you have George Springer in the outfield, one of my favorite players coming from a different side that we talked about last year in the World Series. He was the first one. It was actually in the World Series of baseball games that he was interviewed on camera. And just an all-around great guy. And same thing with Jose Altuve. I'd like to see them do well. I mean, they've got the bats and they've got the defense behind them. So they're kind of unstoppable, like you said. I mean, coming in, it's always hard to do a repeat. I mean, we don't see it very often because it's so difficult. But with this team, they're checking all the boxes, the offense, the defense, the pitching staff, even their bullpen with just everyone in their bullpen is just fantastic. So it's going to be hard to beat. I don't see them, though, coasting through as easily as they did in this opening round, sweeping the Indians. I don't see it being that easy with the teams ahead of them, whether it's the Red Sox or the Yankees, or even when they get into the World Series itself, if they do. It's going to be close, but it's hard to say who's going to beat them.
Okay, so another team moving on is the Dodgers, and they just eliminated the Braves. Now, how sad is it for the Braves to, be eliminated by the Dodgers after Acuna Jr. just had a fantastic rookie season?
Yeah, it's definitely hard to see that because you don't like to see anyone get hurt after they work all season long to get to that point. You don't like to see anyone get hurt prior to the World Series, prior to playoffs. So that was definitely tough for them. Like I said, there is a bright spot ahead for them, just like I feel like with the Athletics. They're going to be good for a couple seasons with the young, raw talent they have. But, I mean, the Dodgers, it's kind of hard to beat the lineups they have. Like I mentioned, I talked to you guys earlier, I'm not a big fan of the Yankees and the Dodgers because I don't like those teams that load up with the stacked lineups they have. But they do so, and it's very hard to beat. So I see the Dodgers and the Brewers coming out. That's going to be a great series. I'm hoping the Brewers, I think they have a little bit of a better team chemistry because the Dodgers kind of add a lot of pieces here and there, but they do have David Freese, former Pirate, who we saw him come through for them in the game. So it could be either or, but the Dodgers look pretty good right now behind Clayton Kershaw.
Okay, Sarah, last question. You've already brought up two former Pirates players, that are in the playoffs, but let's go to the Yankees, who got McCutchen, Hechavarria, and Neil Walker. Would you be okay with seeing one of them get a ring, especially Kutch, who I think everyone in Pittsburgh is really rooting for, even though he is a Yankee?
Yeah, as much as I said, I'm not a big fan of the teams that load up, the Yankees and Dodgers. I would love to see him get a ring just because him and Neil Walker, the way they left Pittsburgh, I mean, it wasn't on a bad note. These were long veteran players. Neil Walker was the Pittsburgh kid. Kutch was the player that the Pirates built their entire organization around. So after all the dedication and hard work that they gave to the Pirates and to the city, you got to root for them. I mean, I'd be happy to see him get a win. Now, Garrett Cole, on the other hand, David Freese, there was some controversy, things they said after they left the Pirates about the team and the organization. I wouldn't be too psyched to see them win, but I'm definitely rooting for, although I don't like the Yankees, I'd like to see Kutch and Neil Walker get a ring. They deserve it more than a lot of people in the MLB.
Thank you, Sarah. Your baseball expertise is incredible. We really appreciated having you on. Let's move into the Ryder Cup, something that not a lot of people might be familiar with, but here at the Halftime Show, we cover all sports, including golf. So joining us is Andrew Brinker, and he is our golf expert. So let's start off with the USA team with Justin Thomas and Tony Finau. Can you explain to us what happened? Because the U.S. kind of imploded a little bit.
Yeah, pretty bad week for Team USA. But in a dark week like that, they needed a bright spot, and these guys were it for sure. Justin Thomas and Tony Finau, they're both rookies, so coming into their first Ryder Cup, still two of the best players in the world. Both of them go in and go almost undefeated. They just played unbelievable golf. Justin Thomas goes in there, takes down Rory McIlroy and Ian Poulter, two historically great match play players. And then Tony Finau, he goes in there and on Sunday, Tommy Fleetwood at that point was undefeated, beats him 6-4. Just unbelievable golf from those two guys. So a good bright spot for the United States team.
Yeah, so Tiger Woods, he went 0-4 in this. It was pretty much his worst performance in his 8 performances in the Cup, and he just got his first win in 5 years. But after this performance, how does he move forward from this?
Well, the thing we need to remember about Tiger, he is historically bad in the Ryder Cup. 8 appearances in the Ryder Cup, just 1 victory. So, I wouldn't chalk this up for too much. He's a great player, obviously. He just got back and won the Tour Championship, which is a big tournament with literally the best players in the world. I beat them all out. It wasn't even close. So, yeah, a bad week for him. He didn't look great, but if he keeps playing the way he's been playing in the regular season, I don't think we have much to worry about.
What did Team Europe do that helped prevail them over here? Because the U.S. had some of the top golfers in the world, especially including Ricky Fowler and Jordan Smith, who didn't do well. Smith went 3 for 2 in his matches, and Fowler went 1 for 3. This is very uncharacteristic of these players.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the United States team looked really good going into the Ryder Cup. They looked like the better team. Some young, talented guys who people think are going to be in the golfing world for a long time. So it was surprising to see them play that poorly, but I think we need to chalk it up to the locker room attitude. The United States struggled all week with that. They had a conflict going on between Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka that continued after the Ryder Cup. And Patrick Reed was making some unnecessary comments. He wanted to play with Jordan Spieth again, who he historically played well with. But then he got to play with Tiger Woods, so I don't really know what he was complaining about. It was a bad attitude, and it didn't help them. The Europeans, on the other hand, a team, a genuine team. It was like golf wasn't even an individual sport. They played together, they won together, they lost together, and that was the biggest difference.
Well, they say there's no I in team, and the USA clearly showed that. But stay with us. After the break, we'll break down the NHL. Stay tuned.
Let's go.
Welcome back. What teams started off strong in the NHL and what others have struggled?
Joining us in studio is Taylor and RJ to talk about a little bit of NHL with us.
Now, let's start things off with Tavares. He's now with the Leafs. He just had a hat trick performance to help the Leafs overcome the Blackhawks in overtime. But let's go to his previous team he was with, the Islanders. How much are they losing him? And, sad that he's gone with them at this point.
I mean, Tavares is definitely a key piece to the puzzle with Toronto. He's been playing top line, and you have a good team when your second line center is Austin Matthews. I mean, first overall draft pick in 2016, one of the greatest centers in the game at the moment. But just a quick little stat, because Toronto is my team and I love them dearly. Tavares is the 4th Toronto Maple Leafs player in NHL's modern era, so since 1943. To score a hat trick in his first 3 games with the franchise. The last one was Austin Matthews with his 4-goal debut in the league, not just with the team. But yeah, I imagine that the Islanders are really missing John Tavares right now, even though they are 2-1 right now. Same with the Leafs, but the Islanders have Matthew Barzal, which kind of makes up for it in the forward and the offense. But still, John Tavares, they're missing their captain. That's a big loss.
Hard to replace a guy after 9 years. But let's go into the Pens real quick. RJ, can you struggle with this? Matt Murray just was announced today that he has a concussion. So DeSmith is going to start this weekend. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because Murray's let in 11 goals in 2 games.
And that's just it. It's 2 games. I wouldn't worry too much about the goals scored as of yet. It's only 2 games. A lot of the team doesn't seem to have their feet completely under them. And we've seen that with the defense against Montreal. They really did not seem like they showed up at all for that game. So it's going to hurt them not having Murray, but Smith has one of the chances of a lifetime right now. He's going to get regular season NHL time in big games. We got to wait and see how he handles it. I think he's a good goaltender. I think he can handle the pressure.
And DeSmith had 7 starts last year, too, so I really think he'll do well. But just because we're Pens fans, we got to get into gritty with the Flyers. Real quick, I just want to hear, what was your first reaction when you saw that Sesame Street looking character pop up on your Twitter timeline?
Well, first of all, the eyes freaked me out. Like the googly eyes, no thanks. Mascot's supposed to be friendly for children. That thing gave me nightmares. Anyway, have you seen his hands? They're human-like. That's
scary.
not supposed to be like that.
No.
At all. I don't know.
RJ, what was your thoughts?
Why would you make that? I mean, seriously, why would you make that? Like you said, mascots are supposed to be something kids go up to and be friendly with. Who would want to be friendly with Gritty? I mean, seriously, he looks so weird.
Yeah, Taylor and I were talking a little bit before the show, and we were really saying, what is the Flyers mascot supposed to be? And we didn't really know, but we pretty much defined it as not that.
Yeah. I think something that made all Pens fans a little bit happy was Tom Wilson being suspended for a 4th of the season. That is great. Real quick thoughts. What was your first reaction whenever they said that?
About time.
Finally.
I think all of us here in Pittsburgh can agree with that. But now, thanks for joining us tonight, guys. That's all we have time for. Join us in 2 weeks for a special NFL show.
We'll cover penalties, breakout players, and injuries. And we'll be introducing a brand new NHL segment. Have a good night, everyone.